Today we have a wonderful, wonderful couple, good friends of mine, very inspiring people actually, and great apostles of Regnum Christi that have really helped and supported Regnum Christi and the Legionaries and just a lot of other families and groups around the church and possibly around the world through their own testimony, their own generosity, their work. And it's been hard to pin them down, and we're in some undisclosed location, and I'm just going to ask them to share really from their hearts what are the things that they as parents did in bringing up their children in the faith and really giving them the tools. And I'm sure a lot of these things that you did weren't even planned, these things that just happened through your own prayer and through your own journeys. So they're kind of like strategies, I guess, strategies to building a holy family, building a family of faith. So this is not when I bring people into this, it's really not my turn to talk. So I'm happy not speaking for the next 5 minutes. So we have Jeff and Donna Garrett, who hail from
Omaha, Nebraska.
Omaha, Nebraska. So wonderful place. I've been there twice. I think once. I've been there once. And I'm waiting for an invitation back.
Oh, we'll have to give you an invitation back.
Yes,
We'll bring you and the whole collective back.
Oh, yeah. That's another topic to talk
Yeah,
about.
that's another topic.
So right now, if you want to just introduce yourselves, how many kids and all that.
We're Jeff and Donna Garrett. We've been married for 35 years so far.
Yes.
We have 4 children. They're all grown. We have 2 boys and 2 girls. And we have 5 grandchildren, and we're hoping for many more.
Yes,
3 of our children are married, and 1 is getting married next May, and then all 4 will be married.
Wow. Congrats.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congrats.
We are quite blessed, and we are very much indebted to the Lord because our 4 kids still practice their faith, which I know is very unusual in today's world. So we're very grateful for that.
Yeah. So I can't wait to hear what words of wisdom do you have for us?
Well, first of all, it's only by the grace of God that they stay in the faith. You can do everything right, and they could still potentially leave the faith. So I know parents that have 4 or 5 kids, and 4 of the kids will be in the faith, 1 will have left the faith, or maybe even all of them left the faith. And it's not because they did anything wrong. It's just that something happened along the way. But what we do find is there are things that we can do to try to instill that faith in them so that nobody can take it away from them.
So one of the things Jeff and I were very clear about was helping our kids understand that Jesus wanted to be their best friend. That God wasn't just some judge in the sky looking down on them, waiting for them to make a mistake, but that he actually was there accompanying them every day, all the time. So from their night prayers to the way we prepped them for their sacraments, we always talked about Jesus as their best friend.
And I think it's really important as a father that you demonstrate for them what a good father is, and that they see, because you're going to look at it and say, okay, if my dad's not a really good father, then how can God be a good father? So really to strive to be the best that I could be as a man, as a husband, as a father, to provide that model for them.
Yeah.
Respect was super important for Jeff and I. We had great respect for each other, and Jeff never let the kids disrespect me as their mother.
One did one time.
Okay, well, once.
He lost his privilege to drive for a couple of weeks, which is more of a punishment actually on Donna than it was on him.
But it was something important for us to help them understand respect, and also respect for authority, proper authority, because that's also important in church. And if you are trying to lay a foundation of a God who loves you, but it all is also a God of justice, they have to have respect for basic authority. In order for that relationship for them to respect that relationship with God.
I think it's really important too, is we had priests in the home. We'd invite the parish priest. We had other priests that were traveling through the area that we'd invite to have dinner with us and to have conversations with the kids. So we frequently had priests in our home. So they got to see priests as being real people and not just somebody that's up there on the altar, and understand that they were people just like you. I remember one time I took my son to a camp, and it was great for him because he goes, "Dad, that was awesome. I got to tackle the priest. We were playing football.
Oh yeah, a lot of boys. Anything with competition or beating the priest or just seeing the human side, I guess, of,
Right.
of the
Yes.
church is very
And also
powerful.
seeing outside the walls of our parish, and you
Yeah.
can talk to that, Donna.
Yeah, so Jeff and I, besides having them meet clergy so that they saw them in there as a humanity, somebody who made a choice to give God their whole life, we also wanted to expose them to the universal church. So it was really important for Jeff and I that their experience of the Catholic faith was not just our parish and not just the Catholic grade school that they went to. Because we saw so many people who maybe got upset with the humanity of a particular priest or a particular faculty member. And then instead of just moving parishes and finding a different parish, they just left the faith.
Wow.
So we were very conscientious of exposing our kids to the Catholic faith in all over the place. We would go to different parishes. We would do different events. We would go to Catholic family conferences, those types of things. We always made it like an adventure, not like we're going to go do this, be, super perfect, but like an adventure. We're going to go find God in a different place today.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah.
And as the kids got older.
And then as we traveled too, one of the first things we always did is found out, okay, where's the church that we're going to go to this Sunday?
Yeah, so the kids got that exposure. And then as they got older, probably one of the things that made the biggest impact on our kids is that we asked each child before they graduated high school to go on an extreme mission.
Wow.
Meaning a mission for a week that was to a very poor country where they would be face to face with humanity that was in so much greater need than themselves. I mean, our children were blessed. They went to 12 years Catholic school. They had cars to drive. They lived in a nice house. They really didn't want for anything. So we really wanted them to experience humanity in a different way. And it opened for them or created for them a space inside of themselves to be able to question, what might God be asking of me to do about this? And so have that happen before they graduated high school, they went to college already having that understanding that they were part of a much bigger picture than just Omaha, Nebraska and their little school.
Wow.
I think that was really important too, because not only that, like with my oldest son, I went on that first mission trip with him. And then with our daughters, I went with them, and our youngest son, I went with them too. As Donna went with all three of them, she just didn't do the mission trip with our oldest son, but it gave us time to bond as a family as well, and to be able to have conversation. And there's nothing like memories of being able to talk about those trips, because the things that you see and the things that you experience, they last forever.
Mm-hmm.
And you do it as a family. Something that's very, I think, important now, because the whole parent-child relationship is under attack. It's very strong, and you see how it is. But when the child sees the parent doing the mission or going on that adventure with them, these are memories that are priceless and experiences that really mark them, right? And I don't know, and it's funny when you're mentioning that. I was thinking of my family, and we did almost the same thing, right? And I'm like, wow, I guess God works in those ways, and God becomes more present in those ways. And even kind of trying to summarize what's the big thing that, whether it was planned or not, or how you raised your kids, it is really making God as present and as real to your children in the home, through the priest, through conversation, through your own testimony, through the trips. That God was very tangible. He was real. He was a friend. And it wasn't just doctrine,
Also, mercy.
Mercy.
So one of the things that Jeff and I did was we tried, when there was that opportunity, to actually ask our kids for forgiveness. When you're raising teenagers, and we had 4 teenagers at one time, you can
There's
sometimes
a lot of hormones going on in that.
And sometimes you can wrongly assess the situation or jump maybe too quickly to a conclusion. So being able to go back to the children and say, hey, I'm sorry, I didn't handle that quite well. Can you explain to me why you really want to go to this event that maybe I'm uncomfortable with you going? And I think that really helped our kids to one, be able to also ask for forgiveness from each other. But how do you believe in a God that has mercy after you've sinned if you don't see mercy demonstrated for you in the home? So that was always extremely important. And then Jeff, one of the things I appreciated so much just about him as a parent is he really let the kids know that, like, if they ever found themselves in a situation that what they felt unsafe, like let's say they went to a gathering of friends and there was alcohol there and they're underage, anything, all they had to do was call one of us and we would come get them, no questions asked, no recrimination, no punishment, just, you're in a situation you need to get out of, you just call one of us and we would be there for them. And I think that was also super important for our children because that's what we want them to think about God. Like, God is always there and always ready to pull you out of whatever situation you're in. And I think that's an important lesson for young people.
And there were actually a couple situations where they did make that phone call.
Wow.
And said, "Hey, Dad, come get me.
Yeah.
I don't feel comfortable.
Yeah. Oh, that's
I'll
wonderful.
meet you at the end of the block." And, just develop that trust factor as well, that, hey, they really are going to do what they say they're going to do.
Yeah.
Did we get mad at them?
No.
Absolutely not.
No.
Absolutely not.
That's huge. That's like creating, I think there's a topic we spoke about in one of the previous episodes, but like gaining trust for your kids.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes both ways when you show them that you trust them, but you also show them that you can be trusted.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like one of the lifesavers in a relationship between child and parent. And then you bring in the faith in there, and that translates to their own relationship with God.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sure. And also to have them understand I am their parent and I'm not their friend.
Yeah.
Okay. Because there is a difference between the two. Now, do I get along well and Donna get along really well with our children today? Absolutely. We talk to them all the time.
Yeah.
They'll go to me for different advice, and if it's relationship advice, they'll go to Donna, or kid advice, they'll go to Donna, medical advice, they'll go to Donna. But for other things, they'll come to me, and they still do that today because of part of that trust that was built a long time ago.
Yeah, that's huge. That part of you're their parent, not their friend.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How many parents, especially like the young millennial couples, they try to be the kid's friend a lot. Where do you see that as? What dangers do you see with that? Maybe
I think that when you're trying to be their friend, then you start looking at, well, what's important to their peer group also, as opposed to what's actually most important to my child and my child's soul, right? The soul of my child. So that was one thing. And I think when you're trying to be their friend, you also don't like to make those unpopular decisions, which is, no, you can't go.
And how do I discipline them if I'm their friend?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And if I am their friend and I do discipline them, what does that do for the idea of friendships?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And trust.
Absolutely.
Trust, Yeah. I think part of it would be, I mean, there is a friend portion in that relationship. Like,
absolutely.
But there's also, it's not absolutely that, nor is it friend in the sense of buddies.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So, now our kids are in their 30s, so we would say they're friends. We do go hang out with our kids. We go to happy hour with our kids. We do a lot of fun things like that because we're not in that authoritative role over them. We're more spiritual mentors and those types of things. So I think that's different for us. And I think that our kids would tell you now that some of the things we would do when they would go off to college and they'd come back, we would always have we had a hot tub in our backyard. So we would have these sessions where everybody would get in the hot tub and we'd talk about like life experiences that they had. And it was so interesting because sometimes they'd come back from college and they'd tell us some of the crazy, reckless things some of their roommates did. And then they would say things like, gosh, I wonder, like, didn't they have parents? Which Jeff and I we would try to like stifle our laugh because some of those decisions we had to make when we weren't their friends, but we were their parents, weren't popular. Yeah. Right? But they understand now why. Mm-hmm. Because it's helping them to establish healthy living and healthy borders and healthy self-discipline.
Yeah. Well, you're helping to form them and help form their conscience.
Yeah. And it forms their own learning how to be parents.
Yes.
Absolutely. And that's been a fun thing for Don and I to see is to watch our children our two that do have children now parent.
Yeah.
Yeah, very fun.
I'm sure a lot of them were like, gosh, this is what my dad used to do.
Now I know why he did that.
Now it makes sense why he said that.
Mhm.
Oh gosh.
Mhm.
Well, that's wonderful. I think this is a good start for a lot of families. I'm sure a lot of people will be benefiting from these ideas.
Great.
And I hope it's not the last time we see you on this show or this conversation. And yeah, is there any last words, any wishes or whatever that you want to share with people?
One thing that I would stress is I had a Catholic priest one time. Our kids went to Catholic schools, as Donna said, and I was complaining. I said, I'm really disappointed. I'm paying all this money for Catholic education, and I don't feel they're getting a really good Catholic education. They aren't being taught the faith very well. And he looked at me and he said, Jeff, that's your job. And at that point in time, I realized that I needed to do that. And with the assistance of Donna too, that was work to form the children to know the Catholic faith to the point where nobody could take that faith away from them. They understood it well enough that they could argue it if they needed to argue it, and they can defend it.
Mm-hmm.
That's wonderful.
And I guess the last thing I would say, just from a maternal perspective, something that Jeff did for our girls, I mean, we did it for all of our kids, but it was so important for them to know how loved they were, like how incredibly special they were, that God had created them as they are, very individual for a particular mission in life, and how much we loved them and wanted to help them develop to really understand what was that mission. So I do think that was core to how we raised our children in the faith, was really affirming all the time how loved they were, how special they were, that they were created for all of eternity.
That's wonderful. Yeah. I know it wasn't easy, right?
No.
But
No.
but now
it's never easy being
never
a
easy.
parent.
And
And I think it's harder today than it was as we were parenting our kids. I feel sorry for the parents today because there's so many things out there, so many more distractions.
yeah.
The cell phones, we had cell phones, but they weren't like they are today.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
But it's a-
those type of things are really challenges that we
challenge.
didn't have.
Mhm.
But it's a beautiful adventure.
Absolutely.
And you
Absolutely.
see the fruits and you're like, yeah, it was worth being the unpopular parents.
It was. It was. And sometimes we were the unpopular parents. Yes. Yes.
Even other parents would tell us that
Oh my
sometimes.
gosh. We can start a show, the unpopular parents.
Yeah, you can.
podcast.
Yes. No, it was true. It was true.
Well, thanks for coming.
Oh, you're
Thanks
welcome,
for the
Father.
conversation. And
Thank you,
yeah,
Father.
we're praying for you. And
We're
praying-
praying for all the parents who listen
Yeah.
to this podcast.
yeah, wherever you
Absolutely.
are,
Mm-hmm.
we're praying for you. We're praying for all the parents we work with, people we know that are listening to this. This is really something that we can contribute and help really have that conversation and give you ideas, as we say, right, to build holy families.
Amen.
All right. God bless you.
God bless,
and
Father.
We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.